Folks, our economy is way past the danger zone. We're going to be talking to expert investor, head of Euro-Pacific Capital, economist, von Miesinger, I guess you could call him, brain, Peter Schiff, who we just played that video of them making fun of him, laughing at him weeks before, a month before, on all these shows, CNBC, you name it, saying that they were going to have tapering, and he said, no, they're not. And I, of course, agreed with him, and many others did, but the mainstream media totally disagreed with him. We're going to get him to talk about that prediction that came true, like most of his predictions do, unfortunately. I wish he was wrong about stuff because it's scary. And then what he sees in the future, the government shutdown, all of it, with Peter Schiff here in just a moment. First off, some of the headlines up on Infowars.com. Uncontrollable laughing or crying? You might need an SSRI. The drug companies write the psychological guidelines now, so if you laugh a lot, well, that's a mental illness. Obamacare, day 4, users still can't log in. Mission accomplished, destroy the economy, Cloward and Piven. FBI cordon off neighborhood to search executed driver's condo for anti-government material. Don't find any. And no weapons, so they can't blame libertarians. We have video of Obama supporters who don't know what party he's in. Every one of them but one lady. This is the mind of total ignorance and slaves. That is just some of what we're going to be breaking down. Also, getting into the government shutdown, they've now wired shut and barricaded the World War II memorial that's been privately paid for and administered, just like Mount Vernon. Military keeps Camp David open, halts NFL baseball coverage to the troops. Park Service tries shutting down privately run inn. A ranger goes public, says, we've been told to make life as difficult for people as we can. It's disgusting. He'll get audited or fired. Debt ceiling fight, dates to founding fathers. That's some of the news up on drudgereport.com. So that's the news we'll be breaking down after Peter Schiff leaves us at 50 after. And then we've got Dr. Steve Pachinek coming on to talk about geopolitics on this Friday edition. Peter, thanks for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. So much happening. Let's get into your prediction where you said on record they're not going to taper, and they laughed at you and attacked you. How were you so sure?
Well, remember, Alex, I first started saying there would be no taper the day that Ben Bernanke first discussed it. So I knew he was bluffing from the beginning. And in fact, Ben Bernanke never actually came out and said, we're going to taper. He always said, depending on the data. So he left himself an out. And even though he knew the market was expecting a taper, and all these Fed officials kept coming out talking about taper, they did nothing to diffuse that expectations, because their real plan is to try to pretend that there's a way out of this, that they have an exit strategy, that they can taper when they know it's impossible, because the entire phony recovery that they're basing the ability to taper on will go away the minute they taper. They can't taper without destroying the economy. But unfortunately, if they don't taper, eventually they destroy the economy anyway, even worse.
That's right. Break down for the layperson out there what tapering is, what QE Unlimited is, and give us your forecast on where you see the world economy going.
Well, right now, the Federal Reserve has got interest rates at 0 because we have so much debt. That's the highest we can afford to pay. And the Federal Reserve is buying $85 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries and mortgage debt every month. In fact, it's actually over $90 billion because the Fed is reinvesting the interest it earns on the bonds and mortgages that it already owns. And because the Fed is buying all this debt, that makes it possible for the government to sell the debt without interest rates going up. That's the only thing keeping this house of cards economy going. But if Ben Bernanke takes away even some of that support, interest rates will rise beyond our ability to afford it. In fact, in his press conference, when he didn't taper, he told everybody that the reason he wasn't doing that was because rates had gone up, and he didn't want rates to go up anymore. But the reason rates went up is because he threatened to taper. But now because he threatened to taper, he can't actually carry out the threat, because tapering means higher interest rates. Now, of course, eventually interest rates are going to skyrocket when the dollar crashes, and then, then this party's over.
You have accurately, in the decade plus I've been listening and watching your work and having you on the show, and also tune in when I can to Shift Radio, that you do almost every day, breaking down where we're going, and then over and over again, you've turned out to be accurate. Give us an idea on where the economy is.